And for Off the Block, I'm Van Lips, and we are now joined by Loyola men's volleyball head coach Mark Hulse as his team is preparing to play a big MIVA match, taking on Lewis and battle the top two teams in the conference standings. And Coach, you saw this team a couple weeks ago, came up a little short. What do you guys have to do differently this time around to get the win on the road?
I don't know, maybe a lot. We'll see. We were certainly, I think, two of the sets were real close. Two of the sets were not so close, and one of them we were up a little late in the third, and that one goes a little differently, and who knows what the fourth set looks like, right? But they look good. Lewis they got a good group. It's by and large, if not almost entirely, the same group that they rolled with last year, which is generally, as college coaches, what you're looking for. At the same time, we got a bunch of seniors out there as well, and so I think it's guys that they know what they're doing, that if we know what we're doing, we also know what each other are doing, and that we've played against each other for a few years now, and so it makes it pretty tricky. You got to be pretty good to win it.
Well, with that being said, Coach, obviously you guys have been getting a lot of volleyball, just finished up a road trip back in Chicago. What's been the big focus on practice this week for your team?
Yeah, we've been pretty pointed and getting better. We got to try and stay sharp and serve receive and serve the ball a little bit better, right? And that's how you side out, and that's how you point score. Kind of step one, which is coaching cliche, I guess, these days. But you got to serve and pass, serve and pass, serve and pass. And so we've gotten pretty pointed with the guys in terms of what we think the anatomy of a good one for us looks like, both offensively and defensively. We've talked a little bit about the bad guys, in this case being Lewis, but really this time of year, I think it's about trying to be a really good version of yourself as much as anything else. And so we've been focusing a lot on that.
I want to ask you about one of your players, Garrett Zolk. He continues to put up big numbers and has really been leading your team or guiding that offense. What have you seen from him and only being a sophomore that's really enabled him to run such a successful offense?
Yeah, I think he's got a really good understanding of his guys right now, and the outsides are different. We've had a couple of different guys in at a couple of different positions, and the two middles are fairly different than each other. The two outsides fairly different than each other, and so I think he's able to be pretty versatile to give the hitters kind of what they want and need, rather than sometimes it's hey, go hit this set. I think he's kind of trying to give those guys what it is that they want. And I think he's got a pretty good feel for the offense. He and Wexter spend a ton of time watching video. I think he's been studying it. He's got a real willingness to get better, and he's not too stuck in any way. And so I think he's improved throughout the year. I think the offense has gotten better throughout the year. We've been fairly nimble in trying out a few different things, or at least some nuanced differences on some sets and stuff. And so I guess just kind of his professionalism throughout all of this and his willingness to get better and kind of do what the team needs him to do and needs of him has made a big difference.
And Coach, I want to ask, obviously you started off the season on a great note. The last week or two, though, you've had some losses, losing twice to Grand Canyon. Is that just the natural ebb and flow of the season, or do you have any concerns about what you saw from your team in Arizona?
Yeah, I think the concerns are, kind of macro stuff, not too much micro. And I think we know kind of who we are as a group. We maybe got exposed a little bit. Grand Canyon was good, and it's tough down there to play. And they haven't had as many wins as maybe you think they should. You're watching the video, and they obviously play a tough slate, as do we. And you're watching them and saying, man, it's a really good team. They just keep coming up on the wrong end of it. And so they were real tough down there. And I don't think we're flawed by any means, but we certainly walked away from the last 2 weeks and said, hey, we got to get better. And if that makes us better in the long run, then I think we're all big boys and we can handle a couple losses. Hopefully our egos can handle it. If it makes us better in the long run, so be it.
Yeah. And, Coach, we all know the big names on your team, but who's maybe a player who has really impressed you, whether it's been coming off the bench or just the way that they've been able to contribute to the team that may not show up in the box score every single match?
Sure. It's definitely worth mentioning that Kyler Katakis has been coming in a serving sub role, and he's just a terror in that spot. He's real confident. He's been kind of dabbling in that the last couple of years, but some of those guys, those specialist roles aren't as maybe prevalent in the men's game as the women's, but he's been doing a really nice job coming off the bench in that pretty precise little role. Avery Aylesworth is kind of an unsung hero out there. He's not the I don't know sometimes what it takes. I think the recognition, it's hard to acknowledge the liberos sometimes. Like we know who the best ones are sometimes, and it's kind of hard. They don't, kills per set don't show up the same way. Efficiencies don't show up the same way as they do for the hitters. That guy is a stud, and he's just so consistent for us in the libero position. So consistent in the practice gym, so consistent in his preparation, so consistent in kind of what he does sitting at home watching volumetrics and stuff like that as well. He's having an awesome year, and it has a lot to do with why we're winning a lot of games.
Coach, I want to ask you, look at the conference standings right now. You're only one game back of Loyola, so, or of Lewis. So big swing match here. You either be tied or down 2 matches. With that being said, do your players feel that this is a must-win if you guys want to win the regular season championship?
I don't know. We don't talk a ton about that stuff. You certainly don't want to get into too much of the must-win stuff. I think the playoffs are obviously that way. I think what we're certainly aware of, what this group has gone through the last handful of years, is that our league is ugly, and that people are going to beat people and stuff like that. And so you better be good every night, because, man, I think the two of us are these two teams are leading from the front, but we're certainly aware of what's coming down the rest of the schedule. And you want to win every single game any way you possibly can, because we think we know everybody's going to beat up on everybody in our league.
All right. And, Coach, 2 final questions. We'll let you go on a little bit of a lighter note here. First one, obviously, I know, fortunately, your men's basketball team got knocked out a little bit, but does that free up Sister Jean to maybe come to some more of your matches throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, we'll take whatever we can get. Sister Jean is usually in the house as it is. Last year was tough. Obviously, men's basketball did so well. And usually you get into, no knock on these guys, but you get into March and April, and we're kind of one of the only shows in town, and it's great. And they were doing their thing, and it kind of kept conflicting with our schedule last year. We had a pretty good group, and the students were busy, next door watching the Final Four games and stuff like that on the Jumbotron, and we were in the gym duking it out. And so, if anything, I think they're in the NIT, but if anything, we're okay with a few more eyes on us as for some of these home games we got coming up.
Definitely. And final question, Coach, we'll let you go on this. Obviously, just a new added element to the rivalry. Matt McCarthy was on the coaching staff for Lewis. He's now at Loyola, coming back to Lewis. Would you be offended if there's anything less than a 10-minute tribute video to him before the match?
10 minutes. Yeah, he would hate it. He would hate it. And if anybody knows McCarthy, he's just not wired that way. I think he likes being a step behind the line. And so, yeah, it's cool. Obviously, we have a ton of respect for Lewis, and getting to be a part of some pretty cool matches the last handful of years, and kind of what they do and how they do it. Tons of respect, and so we're excited to go duke it out with those guys.